At my sister-in-law's wedding reception, my husband suddenly announced to the entire hall, "You are not part of our family, and you only came here to eat for free." After that, he even ordered the server not to give me any food at all. But then, out of nowhere, a distinguished white-haired gentleman I had never seen before leaned toward me and whispered, "Hold on to my arm. They will choke on their own words when they see who you walk in with. Hello everyone. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Enjoy the story." But to understand how this nightmare eventually turned into a victory, we need to rewind 2 hours earlier. The Sterling Grand Ballroom at the Grand Hyatt in Atlanta, Georgia shone so intensely that Lena's eyes began to hurt the moment she stepped inside. It was the priciest venue in the entire city. A place where one cocktail cost more than her parents' monthly Social Security check. Today, the Jackson family was celebrating. Terrell's relatives were marrying off Tiffany, his spoiled, demanding sister, who had always gotten everything she pointed at since childhood. Lena smoothed out the creases in her dress. She had stitched it herself, working late into the night after the number in her accounting ledgers finally stopped swirling in her head. It was a simple beige fabric, thick and good quality, yet compared to the blinding glitter worn by the other guests, she looked like a plain gray mouse that had wandered into a peacock festival. No one greeted her when she entered. Her husband, Terrell, had rushed over early in the morning, supposedly to supervise the setup, although Lena knew well that he wasn't supervising anything. He was simply drinking expensive whiskey with the groom's friends. She located her name on the list. Table 28. Lena made her way across the vast hall, weaving between women in shimmering silk gowns and men squeezed into tight tuxedos. Table 28 was placed in the very far corner, right next to the swinging kitchen doors. Heat and the aroma of frying onions drifted out, and servers rushing by with heavy trays kept brushing the back of her chair. She sat there completely alone, as if she had been placed in quarantine. At the main table, raised above the ballroom like a royal platform, sat Tamara Jackson. Her mother-in-law looked enormous and imposing. She wore so much gold that it seemed her neck could snap under the weight. Beside her sat Terrell, his face already red, his tie crooked, his loud laughter echoing across the hall. Not once, even through the pounding music, did he glance toward the dim corner by the kitchen where Lena sat. An hour passed. Toasts were made. Guests shouted "Kiss the bride" and clinked their glasses while enjoying the delicacies. Filet mignon, jumbo shrimp, tiny crab cakes. Their tables were loaded with food. Not a single server came near table 28. Lena sat with an untouched plate. She had eaten neither breakfast nor lunch because she'd spent the entire day closing accounting books for a client just to make it to the reception on time. Hunger twisted her stomach painfully. A young server rushed past carrying a large tray of smoked salmon. Summoning her courage, Lena quietly called out, "Excuse me, miss. Could I please have just a little bit of fish?" "No one has come to my table for over an hour," Lena said softly. The young server paused, gave her an apologetic smile, and reached for Lena's plate to place a slice of salmon on it. "Of course. I'm sorry. It's chaos back there." But a large shadow suddenly darkened the table. A heavy hand clamped down on the server's shoulder, making her flinch and drop her tongs. "Don't you dare," a man's voice snarled. Lena slowly lifted her eyes. Terrell stood towering over her. He was clearly drunk, his eyes shining with a feverish glow. Behind him, two of his friends stood smirking, eager for the spectacle. The music in the ballroom had just cut off, the DJ switching tracks, and in that sudden silence, Terrell's voice cracked through the air like a gunshot. He grabbed Lena's plate and hurled it to the floor. The china shattered into tiny shards. "Did you not understand your place?" he roared, spit flying. "What are you doing?" Lena whispered, shrinking into her chair as her face burned. Dozens, maybe hundreds of eyes were now fixed on them. "Terrell, what are you doing?" she repeated, a knot swelling in her throat. "I just asked for a little food to eat." Terrell screeched, performing for the crowd. He raised his arms to address the room. "Look at her. She only came here to stuff herself." At the main table, Tamara Jackson paused mid-chew and watched with a satisfied grin. The bride, Tiffany, lifted a hand to her mouth and giggled. Terrell bent down close to his wife. His breath reeked of pricey liquor and someone else's perfume. "You are not family, Lena. Understand this once and for all. You are nothing. You came here to mooch off my mother's money." Then he straightened and barked at the trembling server. "I forbid you to serve her anything. Let her sit here and watch decent people eat, or let her get out. A dead quiet settled over the ballroom. Someone coughed awkwardly. Others stared at their plates, pretending not to see. Terrell's friends chuckled, as if he had delivered a brilliant punchline. Something inside Lena snapped. The thin string of patience that had held their 10-year marriage together finally broke. But she couldn't move. Her legs felt glued to the floor. The humiliation was so thick it felt suffocating. Terrell, satisfied with the scene he had created, turned and started walking back toward the head table. And then the air shifted. As if emerging directly from the shadows, a man stepped forward. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with pure white hair combed immaculately back. His black suit was so flawlessly tailored it likely cost more than the entire wedding itself. No one recognized him. No one had even seen him arrive. He didn't move like a guest. He moved like a predator surveying his domain. As he walked through the crowd, people instinctively stepped aside, reacting to the wave of cold authority radiating from him. He approached table 28. He didn't glance at Terrell. He looked only at Lena. There was no pity in his eyes. Only a calculated, icy understanding. He extended his hand toward her. The gesture wasn't a request. It was a command. Lena, confused but unable to look away, lifted her tear-filled eyes. The stranger leaned close to her ear. His voice was quiet and steady, but in the silence of the hall every syllable struck like a hammer. Take my arm, and they'll swallow their tongues when they see who you're with. Lena hesitated for barely half a second. She saw the twisted fury freezing on Terrell's face. She saw her mother-in-law's expression turn into a rigid mask of horror. And then Lena reached out her trembling hand. Her fingertips brushed the fabric of his sleeve. It was cool, expensive, unmistakably powerful. The moment she touched him, he lifted her to her feet, firm but gentle. Lena stood. The stranger straightened to his full height and scanned the room with a single, heavy gaze. Terrell's friends, who had been laughing only moments earlier, backed away quickly. "Let's go," the man said, but he didn't lead her toward the exit, as she expected. Instead, he turned her around and walked with bold certainty straight through the very center of the ballroom path. The frozen servers passed the shocked whisperers, heading directly toward the stage where the microphone stood. Terrell lunged forward. "Hey, who are you? Where are you taking her?" he barked. The stranger didn't bother to look back. He simply snapped his fingers, and two enormous security guards stepped out of the shadows, blocking Terrell instantly. Terrell stumbled and nearly fell. Lena walked forward with her heart hammering somewhere high in her throat. The click of her heels, along with the solid, steady steps up. The man beside her were the only sounds echoing through the massive hall. They climbed onto the small stage. The band immediately backed away, startled. The white-haired stranger moved toward the microphone stand. He still didn't release Lena's arm, holding it securely, almost as if he were displaying their alliance to everyone watching. He adjusted the microphone. When he spoke, his amplified voice spread through every corner of the ballroom, resonating deep within the listeners. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen," he said quietly, not even attempting a smile. "My name is Victor Sterling." A wave of whispers rippled across the hall. Members of the older crowd gasped aloud. Tamara Jackson turned sheet white, as if her blood had drained out in an instant. Her fork slipped from her hand and clattered against the porcelain plate. "I happen to be the owner of this ballroom," Victor continued, his gaze locking directly with Terrell's mother, "and I am compelled to interrupt this event." He paused long enough for the tension to reach its breaking point. "This wedding is canceled, effective immediately." Someone shrieked. The bride shot up from her chair. "What? You can't do that!" "We pay." Victor looked at Tiffany, and she froze mid-sentence. "No, sweetheart. You did not pay," he said, his tone sharpening into steel. "The checks your mother, Tamara Jackson, wrote earlier bounced about an hour ago. Insufficient funds. The accounts are empty." He pulled a folded document from the inside of his jacket and let it drop casually onto the stage floor. "You're bankrupt. The show is over." He gestured toward the crowd. "Security escort out everyone who hasn't paid for tonight." Then he lifted Lena's hand slightly. "She stays. She is the only person here with any integrity. The rest of you leave." Tiffany's scream erupted louder than the crashing dishes around the room. The bride, forgetting every ounce of etiquette, hurled her bouquet straight into her mother's face. White roses burst across the shining wooden floor like scattered snow. "What do you mean, no money?" she wailed, stomping her decorated gown. "Mom, you promised. You said everything was handled." "I'm humiliated in front of the whole city. Chaos exploded instantly. Guests who minutes earlier had been daintily enjoying hors d'oeuvres now jumped up, knocking chairs aside. Some tried sneaking toward the exits with bottles of expensive wine stuffed under their arms, but the managers had already sealed the doors. Sirens echoed outside, fast and loud. Police were on their way. The Sterling Grand never tolerated non-paying clients. Victor tightened his hold on Lena's elbow and guided her away from the stage. Not into the hall, but toward a side service exit. They moved down a narrow corridor that smelled of bleach and boiled vegetables, passing startled kitchen workers. The uproar remained behind the thick walls, but the trembling in Lena's hands refused to stop. They stepped out into the back lot. The staff parking area. The air outside was thick and humid, carrying the smell of exhaust and the warning scent of coming rain. Victor's black SUV idled right at the bottom of the steps, engine already rumbling softly. "Stop!" The sudden, cracking scream made Lena jolt. Terrell stumbled through the same doorway, swaying like a man barely staying upright. He looked miserable. His jacket hung open, his shirt halfway yanked from his waistband, and his face was flushed and warped by anger and cheap liquor. The moment he spotted Lena, he hurled himself toward her like an enraged bull. "Where do you think you're going?" he bellowed, reaching for her. "This is all your fault. You ruined us. The second you opened your mouth, everything went to hell. You cursed my whole family." Lena recoiled, her back hitting the cold metal of the SUV. In his eyes, she saw something more frightening than rage, raw, unhinged madness. He drew his hand back, ready to strike her square in the face, as if hitting her would erase all the shame of the night. But Terrell's hand never reached her. One of Victor's bodyguards, a silent mountain of a man with a hardened, expressionless face, intercepted Terrell's wrist in midair. The motion was quick, almost effortless. The guard squeezed, twisted lightly. Terrell screamed and dropped to his knees, splashing into a slick puddle of oil. One more move toward her. Victor's voice was low, which somehow made it far more chilling. "And you'll be picking your teeth up with broken fingers." Terrell panted and writhed in the dirt, trying to rise, but the guard calmly lowered a boot onto his jacket collar, pressing him back down. In the car, Victor said to Lena. She obeyed. The door shut, cutting off the noise of the outside. The interior smelled softly of leather and expensive cologne. The SUV glided away, leaving behind a soaked, howling Terrell, the flashing police lights at the hotel entrance at a wedding in shambles. They drove in silence for nearly 10 minutes. Lena stared out the window, watching the bright reflections of downtown Atlanta flash by. The city continued its busy rhythm, uncaring that her own world had just shattered. She felt hollow. 10 years of marriage, 10 years of belittling, swallowing her pride, bending to their whims. All of it had burst open today like an infected wound. The car slowed at a simple 24-hour coffee shop near the city center. No glamour here, just soft jazz and the warm scent of fresh coffee. Victor chose the farthest booth, shielded by a decorative partition. A waiter arrived with a pot of green tea. Victor poured it for her himself, his movements smooth and deliberate. "Drink," he said. "It will settle you." Lena wrapped both hands around the mug, trying to soak up the heat even though the room wasn't cold. Her teeth still trembled. "Why did you do all this?" she finally asked, eyes fixed on the table. "Why did you take me? They'll destroy me after tonight." "You don't understand, Tamara Jackson. She'll never forgive this." Victor gave a slight smirk. Not a warm smile, but the sharp, predatory grin of something that knew it had the upper hand. "Tamara Jackson," he said, "is currently busy explaining to the Atlanta Police Department why she ordered a $300,000 banquet with exactly $0 in her accounts. She has bigger problems than you." He drew a thin file from his leather briefcase and placed it between them. "You still believe they're wealthy, Lena? That the mansion with the pillars, the expensive cars, the so-called business, any of it is real?" "Of course," Lena murmured. "They own a freight and logistics company. Trucks, warehouses." Terrell always claimed the business was thriving, that they were only going through temporary issues and needed to reinvest. That was why he asked for her salary, to help. Victor let out a laugh, short, dry, humorless. "Reinvest," he repeated. Lovely word. "In reality, they've been bankrupt for 5 years. Everything they own is on credit. They take out new loans to pay interest on the old ones. Tamara pawned all her jewelry last year. Tiffany's wedding was their final gamble. They hoped to hook a wealthy groom to fill their financial holes. It failed." Lena listened, unable to process it. But Terrell bought designer suits And my mother-in-law changed her fur coats every winter. The business Victor cut her off is drowning. I know because I've watched them for 30 years. They stole my share of an inheritance. But they were too stupid to make anything out of it. He leaned back. And I didn't bring you here to talk about their idiocy. I brought you here so you finally understand the part they cast you in. He slid the folder toward her. Open it. Lena's trembling hands lifted the cover. The first page had a government seal. The words blurred as she tried to focus. 3 years ago, Victor said, his tone smoothing. Terrell brought you a stack of papers. He said it was routine. Something about insurance or a pension account. He hurried you, claimed a courier was waiting. Ring any bells? Lena frowned. The memory appeared as a faint shadow. Yes, it was one evening. He was oddly sweet. Brought me tea, joked around, handed me pages already marked with checkboxes. Sign here, he said. I was exhausted from the quarterly report. I didn't read anything closely. I trusted him. I remember, she whispered. He said it was for a tax deduction. Look at what you actually signed, Victor said, pointing. Her eyes scanned the top line. Deed of gift, act of acceptance, and transfer of real estate sole founder. Of resolution on change of ownership. A cold shiver ran through her. There was the mansion's address. The legal registration of Davis Freight and Logistics, the warehouse properties, the land. In the owner field, only one name, Lena Davis. She raised her eyes, horrified. This must be wrong. Why is my name? It's not wrong, Victor said. It was their master plan. When creditors started crushing Tamara and Terrell, they faced asset seizure. So they transferred everything to someone clean, someone invisible, obedient, and unlikely to question anything. He tapped the folder. You. They shifted all their assets into your name to shield them. Then they planned to divorce you after a few years, make you sign it all back, and leave you penniless. Lena stared numbly at the documents. The mansion they tried to kick her from, the business Terrell drained for his parties. Legally, every bit of it belonged to her. They simply hadn't gotten the chance to take it back. Lena, Victor said softly, you are not a parasite. You're not the freeloader they made you believe you were. Legally, you own everything in their lives, the house they sleep in, the company they run, even the fork your mother-in-law eats her breakfast with. Silence pressed in around her. She looked at her own signature. The one she had scribbled thinking she was helping her husband with taxes. That signature was now either a sentence or a weapon. What should I do now? She whispered. Victor leaned back, a genuine smile appearing for the first time all evening. Now, he said, the real fun begins. We're going home. To your home. Lena stepped out of the SUV at the wrought iron gates, clutching the folder so tightly her fingers hurt. Victor didn't accompany her. He gave only a nod, a look that said, this is your war. And you already hold the weapon. The car disappeared down the street, leaving her facing the mansion, her property, on paper, but a fortress that had never felt like it belonged to her. She approached the porch. A light glowed upstairs. Strange. Terrell should have been somewhere downtown licking his wounds, and Tamara was surely still being interrogated by police. Lena pulled out her keys. Her hand trembled, not from fear, but from ice-cold anger. She slid the key into the lock. It didn't turn. She pushed harder. Nothing. The mechanism was dead. Lock changed. The realization swept over her like freezing water. While she worked late, while she sewed her dress, while she was humiliated at the wedding, Terrell had already begun kicking her out of her own house. He had no intention of letting her return. Before, Lena would have sunk to the steps and cried. Before, she would have called Terrell, begging. But now she had the folder. She called the emergency locksmith. I need access to my house, she said steadily. I have the ownership documents in hand. He arrived within 20 minutes, a stocky man with sharp eyes. He eyed her, a modestly dressed woman at the door of a mansion. You're the owner? He asked. Then why don't the keys fit? My husband changed them, Lena replied, opening the folder. Here's the deed. And here's my ID. Compare them. The man inspected everything under his flashlight. His posture shifted instantly. No problem, Miss Davis, I'll get you inside. The drill screamed through the quiet neighborhood. Within minutes, the lock surrendered. Lena paid, stepped inside, and locked the door behind her. Warm air greeted her. The scent of heavy, expensive perfume drifted through the hallway. Oddly familiar, but she couldn't place it. Her heels echoed as she crossed the marble floor and went up the stairs. She headed for the master bedroom. planning only to pack and go to a hotel. She didn't want to stay one more minute in this cold palace. The bedroom door was ajar. She pushed it open and froze. A woman lounged on the marital bed, perched on top of the silk covers. She wore Lena's own soft terry cloth robe, the one Lena bought herself with a work bonus. The woman lazily flipped through a magazine, her foot swinging. Marina, Tiffany's best friend, the maid of honor. Marina looked up. No shock, no shame, just a slow, triumphant smile. "Well, look who wandered in," she drawled. "I thought Terrell already told you to stay away." "What did you do? Break the door?" "That's a felony, sweetheart." Lena stared, unable to speak. Marina, in her robe, in her bedroom, the pieces fell into place. All those late nights, all those weekends, Terrell was with his mother. Marina rose from the bed, adjusted the robe tie, and picked up a small plastic stick, a pregnancy test. "See this," she said, waving it in Lena's face. 2 lines. "Terrell is ecstatic. We've been together 2 years, in case you didn't notice. We were just waiting for the lawyers to finish the paperwork on the asset reversal. Terrell said you'd sign everything soon. Then we could finally get rid of you." She laughed cruelly. "But since you're already here, pack your junk and leave. This house is mine now. Terrell has a real family, not this circus with an accountant." Something rose inside Lena. Not panic, not heartbreak. Something cold, something sharp. "Your house?" Lena repeated quietly. "Mine?" Marina smirked. "And my baby." "And you." "Nobody. The maid they forgot to fire." Lena didn't shout. She didn't strike. She simply took out her phone. She had noticed the security company sticker at the door earlier, and she remembered seeing the security contract in Victor's folder. She dialed. "Centurion Security Services, how may I assist?" "This is Lena Davis," she said clearly. "Address, Forest Lane, House 5, contract 784 billions. I am the legal owner. I have intruders threatening my safety. Send a rapid response team." Marina burst out laughing. "Oh, please. Security worships Terrell. They salute him every time." Lena ignored her, moved to the armchair, sat, and placed the folder neatly on her lap. "You have 5 minutes to take off my robe," she said calmly, staring out the window. 3 minutes later, the downstairs door slammed. "Marina, baby? You upstairs?" Terrell called. He ran in, panting, still in his filthy suit. "Can you believe that witch?" He stopped dead when he saw Lena sitting in the armchair. "You," he roared. "How did you get in?" "Get out of my—" He didn't finish. Tires screeched outside. A security vehicle pulled in. 3 guards in tactical gear stormed inside, their boots echoing through the house. "Who requested emergency response?" The leader balked. Terrell lunged toward him, putting on his familiar smug mask. "Guys, calm down. This is my ex-wife," she trespassed. "We're escorting her out. Last name?" The guard asked, checking his tablet without looking up. "Davis," Terrell snapped. "I'm the owner." "The registered owner is Lena Davis," the guard replied firmly. "Which of you is Lena?" Lena stood. "I am. Here are my documents. These individuals are here, illegally. The woman threatened me. Remove them from my property." Terrell's face twisted. "What are you talking about?" "My property, guys. I pay your bills." "You haven't paid in 3 months, the guard said flatly. "The contract is under Ms. Davis. Orders confirmed." He stepped forward. "Sir, step outside." A guard grabbed Terrell's elbow. "Don't touch me." Terrell shrieked. "This is my house." "Marina, tell them." Marina was plastered against the wall, her confidence evaporated. "Ma'am, you as well." Another guard ordered. "Gather your belongings or leave as you are." "She's wearing my robe," Lena said calmly. The guard nodded. "Remove it. It's not yours." Marina flushed red, stripped off the robe, standing in just her lingerie, snatched her dress, and hissed, "You'll pay for this. Terrell will ruin you." "Exit," the guard repeated. The pair were marched downstairs. Terrell kicked and screamed about his connections, but the guards did their job with icy professionalism. Seconds later, they were shoved outside like misbehaving animals. Rain poured down. Lena walked to the window. Under the streetlights, she saw Terrell, soaked, shivering, in his ruined clothes, and Marina, struggling to pull her dress on over her wet body, both trapped at the locked gates. She turned away. The house was quiet. She went to the little upstairs kitchenette, boiled water, and found her favorite mug. The one she kept hidden so Tiffany's friends wouldn't break it. She poured tea, added Len, returned to the bedroom, switched off the main light, and sat in the armchair again. Outside, her ex-husband and his mistress scrambled in the mud, screaming into the storm. Inside, Lena sat warm and calm in her own home. For the first time in 10 years, she felt her lungs fill freely, but she knew this wasn't over. Tamara Jackson would not surrender so easily. They lifted her out of misery, fed her, clothed her, and this is how she repaid them. By tossing an old woman out into the storm with nothing. She left my son with not a single dollar. Tamara howled, her voice echoing through the office. Terrell's aunt joined in immediately, sobbing so loudly that the windows nearly rattled. She snatched the family house. She trampled on the memory of our ancestors. Aren't you afraid of God, Lena? How can the ground even hold someone like you? Lena shot to her feet, her chair crashing backward. Her cheeks flamed with humiliation. Tamara Jackson, what is this madness? Stop it right now. This is my office. I don't care. Tamara dropped the theatrics for a moment and stormed toward Lena's desk, looming over her like a dark tower. Let everyone here see what kind of thief you are. You forged those papers. You tricked my poor Terrell. Give the house back. You garbage. Return everything you stole, or I swear I'll show up here every single day and throw myself on my knees at the door until they fire you in disgrace. Around the office, whispers broke out like sparks. Someone even raised their phone, recording the entire chaos. Lena felt herself shrinking, her pulse thundering in her ears. It was like being scolded as a child again. Except this time the whole world was watching. Then the director's office door swung open. Arodi Petrovich, her boss, the man known for hating noise more than anything, stepped into the doorway. His expression curdled the air. "What is this circus?" he demanded, his voice sharp and unforgiving. Tamara, spotting her next audience, threw herself toward him and almost collapsed at his shoes. "Help us, dear sir. Your employee is a criminal. She stole our home. She ruined us." Arodi recoiled in disgust and shifted his glare to Lena. There was nothing warm in his eyes, only deep annoyance. "Lena Davis," he snapped. "My office now." Inside, the CEO's office smelled of luxury and tension. Lena remained standing, head lowered, while Petrovich paced by the window like an irritated predator. "I don't tolerate problems, Lena," he said coldly. "Our company works with serious people. Reputation is everything. And now we are drowning in some family melodrama. Police accusations, fraud rumors. I won't have it." "It's all lies," Lena whispered. "They transferred those assets to me to avoid taxes. I didn't steal a thing. I don't care." He exploded, slamming his palm on the desk. "Settle your household chaos outside of this building. Tamara Jackson is well connected in this town. If she starts filing complaints everywhere, we'll be neck-deep in audits. You have two choices. Fix this mess today and return whatever they want so they shut up, or hand in your resignation letter. I don't employ drama magnets." Lena left the office on trembling legs. The hallway was empty now. Security had removed the wailing relatives, but the humiliation clung to the air like smoke. Her coworkers avoided meeting her eyes whenever she walked by. No one asked how she felt. No one offered even a shred of support. She hurried outside, gasping for fresh air. Her hands shook so violently she couldn't even manage to bring a cigarette to her lips. She hadn't smoked in 3 years, but right now she felt like giving everything up. Signing those cursed papers, returning their decaying mansion and their debts, and disappearing somewhere far away where the name Davis meant nothing. She felt like a fraud. How could she ever stand up to them? She was just an ordinary accountant. They, on the other hand, were high society. Disgraced, yes, but still powerful. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. An unknown number lit up the screen. "Hello?" Lena's voice trembled, already thinking of giving it all back. Victor's voice sounded so close she could almost feel his breath. "I heard about the little spectacle Tamara put on. Effective, isn't it?" Lena slid down against the brick wall, her back scraping as she sank to the ground. "I can't do this, Victor. I'm going to get fired. Everyone hates me. They're closing in from every direction. Maybe I should just drop the whole fight. I'm not built for this. I like numbers, not battles." "Exactly," Victor snapped. "You love numbers. Leave all the emotional theatrics to Tamara. She's playing the sympathy card because she has nothing else. She's terrified of you." "Terrified?" Lena let out a shaky laugh. "She just dragged my name through the sewer. She's scared because you're the owner now. And you still haven't done the first thing any new business owner should do, an audit." Lena froze. "What do you mean?" You have access to Davis Freight and Logistics bank accounts. You are the CEO and sole founder. Log in. Right now. Tamara isn't just desperate to take the company back. There are transactions she's trying to hide. What do I look for? Large transfers from the last year. They'll be disguised. Consulting, charity, something vague. Focus on the date. August 18th of last year. He hung up. August 18th. The date spun in her mind as she rushed back to her desk, ignoring the cold stares. She inserted the flash drive with the electronic signature she'd discovered in the home safe. Her hands flew over the keyboard. Client bank system. Login. Access granted. She scrolled through the yearly statement until she reached August. Driver wages, fuel expenses, lease payments. Then she stopped. August 18th, $300,000 withdrawn. Recipient, Sawaranov, attorney at law. Description, legal transaction support. 2 days later, another withdrawal, $200,000. Recipient, New Life Private Surgical Clinic. Description, employee health insurance. Lena frowned. The company had never provided health insurance. She searched the first recipient. Sergei Woronov, criminal lawyer, specializing in serious traffic accidents. A cold wave washed over her. August 18th. That day Tiffany had come home late and without her car. She claimed she'd taken the red convertible to the shop because the transmission slipped. She was pale. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She chugged half a bottle of brandy and locked herself in her room. The very next morning, Tamara suddenly sold the lake house. Lena pulled up the scanned documents from that period. The clinic certificate listed one patient, not an employee. Andrew Kovalyev, 11 years old. Multiple fractures, traumatic brain injury. The whole picture snapped together like a nightmare. Tiffany had hit a child a year ago, and they had buried the entire case. They paid off the parents, paid the clinic, paid the lawyer who erased the charges. But the worst part wasn't the hit and run. Lena stared at the payer field. Davis Freight and Logistics, Inc., signed with the electronic signature of CEO Lena Davis. They had used her signature, the one Terrell told her to give them just to save you from coming in to sign paperwork. They paid for Tiffany's crime with the company's money that legally belonged to Lena. They had laundered everything through her firm. Her arms went numb as she leaned back. If this came out, Tiffany might go to prison for the accident, but Lena would be charged with money laundering, bribery, and hiding a felony. She would take the fall for all of it. Tamara didn't just want the house back. She wanted control of the evidence, or she planned to abandon Lena with the mess if the injured boy's family ever came forward again. Lena realized losing her job was the least of her fears. Prison. Real prison for crimes she never committed. She reached for her phone to call Victor, then hesitated. What if he was manipulating her too? He knew exactly where to look. He knew she was exposed. She wasn't a player in this game. She was a pawn. Her phone vibrated in her hand. Terrell flashed on the screen. Lena wanted to block the number, wanted to end the call immediately, but the fear of ending up in a jail cell outweighed her pride. She needed to find out what they were planning. She needed a way out. Yes, she replied dryly, forcing her voice not to tremble. Lena. Her husband's voice was barely recognizable, quiet, cracked, completely stripped of the arrogance he had used while yelling at her in the rain yesterday. Lena, don't hang up, please. We need to talk, not like enemies, but like two people who shared 10 years. We have nothing to discuss, Terrell. I saw the documents. I saw the transfers. I know, he cut her off quickly. I know everything. Mom, she's lost it. Lena, I'm scared. I don't want to go to prison. And I don't want you ending up there either. Let's meet somewhere neutral. The park by the Riverwalk. Just you and me. For the sake of everything we once had. Lena hesitated only a moment. 1 hour later. She arrived early. She chose a bench in an open area where retirees wandered and mothers pushed strollers. The sun was shining so brightly that it felt insane that dirty deal and ruined children existed in a world that looked this peaceful. Terrell arrived exactly on time. When Lena spotted him, her heart clenched against her will. He looked awful. The man who was always crisp, always shaved, always immaculate now looked like something beaten and discarded. His shirt was wrinkled. A 3-day stubble covered his jaw, and deep shadows hollowed his eyes. He'd lost weight in only a couple of days. He didn't sit beside her. He stood in front of her, shifting his weight nervously like a schoolboy caught cheating. "Thank you for coming," he croaked. "What do you want, Terrell?" Lena folded her arms. The money, the house? Terrell suddenly fell to his knees, lifting his eyes to her. To hell with the house. To hell with the money. I've lost everything. He flinched like his teeth hurt. Marina left. The moment we got thrown out. The moment she saw I had nothing, she vanished. She didn't want me. She wanted my wallet. You were right. You were right about everything. Lena didn't speak, but the ice around her heart cracked. It hurt to see him this humiliated. Forgive me, he whispered, tears forming. I'm an idiot. I'm weak. My mother controlled me my whole life, pushed me, manipulated me. She planned everything, the transfer of the company to you, covering for Tiffany. I never wanted any of it, Lena, I swear. I was terrified of going against her. He reached out and lightly touched her knee with his fingertips. I don't want war. I don't want court battles. I'm exhausted. Let's just end all of it. And how exactly do you expect we do that? Lena asked. I'm the head of a company with a felony hanging over it, he muttered. We'll sell everything. I already have a buyer for the mansion. I know people willing to take the company for its licenses, even with the debts. We'll sell the whole cursed inheritance, pay off everything and whatever's left. We split 50-50. He sat down beside her, careful not to sit too close. Lena, that's $5, maybe $8 million each. We can both walk away. You always wanted to live by the ocean. Remember? We dreamed of a condo in Miami. Let's take the money and go our separate ways. Or, he swallowed. Or maybe we try again, in another city, without my mother, without the pretenses. Just you and me, like college. Lena stared at the river. She remembered those years. Terrell had been different then, light-hearted, gentle. He used to carry her in his arms and bring her daisies because roses were too expensive. Could any piece of that boy still exist inside this broken man? Selling everything and walking away felt like a lifeline. Freedom from the cursed mansion, the company, the lies, a chance to disappear. No jail. No war with Tamara Jackson. Just silence. Did you really break up with Marina? Lena asked quietly. I threw her out, Terrell lied, looking her straight in the eyes with the sincerity she always fell for. Lena, I love you. I messed up. But I love you. Let's sign the settlement tomorrow. I already have a notary. He'll prepare everything. We'll sign a power of attorney for the sale, and the money will go straight to your account. You'll be in charge. Lena closed her eyes. She wanted so badly to believe him. She wanted the nightmare over. Okay, she exhaled. Let's sell everything. Terrell let out a shaky breath of relief and rested his forehead against her shoulder. Thank you, God. You're a saint, Lena. A saint. Tomorrow at noon, Notary Zimmern's office on Peachtree. He hurried away without looking back, as if afraid she would reconsider. Lena stayed on the bench, feeling hollow. Maybe she was betraying Victor, but Victor was a stranger. Terrell, weak, broken, was still her husband. That evening she packed her belongings. She wasn't staying in that house after the sale. She'd rent an apartment, breathe, decide what to do next. Maybe she'd even give Terrell another chance. People make mistakes. She poured wine and stepped onto the balcony. The city lights flickered calmly. For the first time in days, peace washed over her. Her phone chimed. A message from Victor. No text, just a video. Lena frowned. She didn't want to open it. She wanted that fragile piece to stay intact, but her finger pressed play anyway. A hidden camera recording? The angle looked like it came from a flower or decoration on the table. The video was perfect quality, the sound clear. A restaurant, Terrell's favorite expensive steakhouse. Terrell sat slumped, but he no longer looked beaten. He lounged comfortably, whiskey in one hand, devouring steak. Two men sat across from him, one fat and bald with quick, nervous eyes, the other skinny, wearing glasses, with a cold, clinical face. She bought it. The fat one asked, wiping his mouth. Terrell smirked and stabbed another piece of meat. Like a lamb. I know which buttons to press. I love you, baby. Let's start over. She's sentimental. Tomorrow at noon she'll be with you, Zimmern. Papers ready? Ready, the fat notary nodded. A general power of attorney over all her property and assets, in your name with the right to sell. Once she signs, she's penniless. And after that? The thin man asked. Terrell turned to him. Then, doctor, it's your turn. She signs. And you step in hysteria, erratic behavior, threat to others. You can document that, right? Acute psychosis. The doctor nodded. My orderlies will be at the service entrance, no questions asked. Sedative injection, straitjacket, and she's admitted. For how long? Terrell asked. Legally? Months, The doctor shrugged. While you liquidate everything, she'll be a vegetable on Haldol. No one listens to crazy people. Terrell laughed a satisfied, triumphant laugh. Perfect. So by tomorrow afternoon I'm a rich bachelor again and my wife is studying the padded walls. Cheers. They clinked glasses. Lena dropped her phone. It hit the carpet with a soft thud, screen glowing. Her husband's face froze on the frame, smug, full, glistening with malice. The same man who had cried on her shoulder an hour earlier, now planning to turn her into a mindless patient to drain her bank account. Lena slid to the floor. Wine spilled onto the carpet, but she didn't notice. The world didn't just collapse, it inverted, revealing its rotten core. Her fear vanished. Her tears dried before they even formed. A black hole opened inside her, swallowing everything: love, pity, hope. Only cold, crystalline hatred remained. She picked up the phone, fingers moving mechanically. I saw. What do I need to do tomorrow? She typed to Victor. The reply came instantly. Tomorrow, you will go, but you will not sign. At 11:55 a.m. the next day. Lena pushed open the heavy glass door of Notary Zimmern's office. The air smelled like expensive leather and old paper. A pale-haired secretary tapped her long nails on the keyboard. Lena walked straight into the office. Terrell was already there, spinning an expensive pen, legs crossed. Behind the desk sat Notary Zimmern, the same fat man from the video. Terrell jumped up immediately, the mask of loving repentance snapping onto his face. Lena, you came. I was so scared you'd change your mind. Sit, darling. War? Tea? Lena ignored him and sat. She placed her purse on the floor. Her back was straight, unbending. She knew a private ambulance was outside. She knew the doctor with the syringe was nearby, but all she felt was icy precision. Let's get to business, she said calmly. I don't have long, of course. Zimmern slid a stack of papers toward her. As agreed, general power-up. Attorney giving your husband full control over all assets. Sign here, here, and here. Terrell leaned over her, breath minty to mask whiskey. Sign, baby? We'll go home afterward? I'll handle everything. Lena picked up the pen. Terrell held his breath. Zimmern leaned closer. Lena pushed the papers aside. She opened her own folder and pulled out a single sheet. You're right, Terrell. I will sign. But not this. She placed the document in front of him, signed the bottom, and lifted her eyes. Read it. It's order no. 248 from Davis Freight and Logistics. Terrell frowned. What order, Lena? We're selling the house, not. Read. She repeated sharply. He snatched the page, his eyes moved down the text. Gross violation of duties. Systematic embezzlement. Using company accounts to hide a criminal offense. His face turned red. Terminate Terrell Davis as executive director, effective immediately without severance pay. He threw the paper down. Are you insane? Terminate me. This is my company. Lena took out a bank statement. Yours. According to the documents, it's mine. And here's proof you wired $500,000 to bribe a lawyer and doctors to cover up Tiffany hitting a child. You code Title 18 healthcare fraud and conspiracy, plus money laundering. The room went silent. Only the air conditioner hummed. Terrell's face twisted. You, he hissed. You think you're smart? You think you'll leave this room? Zimmern, call the doctor. Now. She's having an episode. The notary didn't move. His hands trembled. Mr. Davis, he stammered. We have a problem. What problem? Terrell roared. Call the orderlies. No. Zimmern shouted. We can't. She signed the termination order in front of witnesses. If we use force now, it's kidnapping. We will all be arrested. I didn't agree to kidnapping. Terrell froze. His plan was crumbling, so what do? He barked. We have to legally invalidate her order. Zimmern babbled. You must sign a protocol denying the accusation. We'll call it a corporate dispute. It'll suspend her order until the court decides. Then we can. His eyes flicked toward the door, hinting at the doctor. Fine. Terrell snarled. Where do I sign? Zimmern shoved a thick stack of documents at him. Here, here, and here. Quickly, Terrell didn't read a word. He just signed page after page, blinded by fury, wanting only to finish and send in the orderlies. There, done. Now call them. The notary scooped up the pages, but instead of orderlies, two massive security guards entered. Behind them, Victor Sterling. Terrell's face drained of color. Zimmern shrank in his chair. I'm sorry, Mr. Davis, he whispered. Mr. Sterling. He knows things about my real estate deals. I don't want prison. What is happening? Terrell backed into a bookcase. Lena rose slowly. She took the top paper from the notary and held it up. You were in such a hurry. You didn't even check the title. Terrell squinted. It wasn't a protocol of disagreement. At the top, in bold letters, Terrell's face drained of color. His eyes fell on the signature, broad, clean, unmistakable. He had just signed his own death sentence. This is a scam, he rasped. A forgery. I'm reporting you. Victor stepped closer. Go ahead, he replied evenly. The notary confirmed your competence. And the camera in the corner filmed you signing everything willingly without pressure. You're broke, Terrell. And now, you owe my niece every last thing you own, including your socks. Terrell slid down the wall and collapsed onto the floor. Outside, the ambulance revved its engine and drove off. He couldn't afford to keep it there anymore. But the victory in that notary's office didn't bring peace. If anything, it marked the beginning of total war. The moment Terrell walked out broken after signing the debt agreement, the Davis family switched immediately to scorched earth tactics. If they couldn't beat Lena legally, they would destroy her publicly. Her phone blew up with notifications before she even got home. Instagram feeds, city blogs, group chats, videos were everywhere. In one of them, Tamara Jackson sat before a crucifix, her face swollen with tears, no makeup, sobbing into the camera. Good people, she cried, wringing her hands. Look at this woman, Lena Davis. We welcomed her into our home when she had nothing, fed her, clothed her. And she found herself some rich old gangster and made him threaten my poor son, forced him to transfer his business, and threw us elderly folks into the street. She's a thief. She sleeps with a thug for money. The video tore through Atlanta like wildfire. Thousands of comments flooded in. Burn the witch. Where's the law? That poor family. Stay strong. Lena felt like she had contracted a plague. She tried not to look, but the city was too small. That evening, she stopped by the store for bread and milk. She hid her eyes under a cap, pulled her collar up, hoping to pass unnoticed, but they spotted her in the produce aisle. A heavy-set woman gasped loudly. Look, there she is, the one who kicked her mother-in-law out. The line froze. Dozens of hateful eyes fixed on Lena. Aren't you ashamed? An elderly woman hissed. Don't you have a mother? Sleeping with an old sugar daddy and robbing people? Excuse me, Lena whispered, trying to slip through, abandoning her basket. Where do you think you're going? The heavy woman shrieked, then suddenly spat straight into Lena's face. Shame on you. May that money choke you. Sticky spit slid down her cheek. Lena ran out under a chorus of jeers, her heart hammering so hard it felt as if her ribs might split. She reached the parking lot, wiping her face with her sleeve, wishing only to lock herself inside her car and drive far, far away from anything connected to the name Davis. But when she reached her old sedan, she froze. All 4 tires were slashed to ribbons, and gouged deeply into the hood was a single word: thief. Lena slid down the door and collapsed onto the asphalt. She had nothing left inside her. The win over Terrell, the documents, the assets felt meaningless against this raw, feral public hatred. Tamara Jackson knew exactly what she was doing. She hadn't released lawyers on Lena. She had unleashed a mob. Take everything, Lena whispered into the empty air. Take the house, the company, the money. Just leave me alone. She almost called Victor to tell him she was quitting, ready to sign anything just to stop being hunted. But she didn't dial. Instead, she walked. Her feet carried her to the old quiet church at the neighborhood's edge, a place that was always calm, untouched by social media fury. Inside, incense and melted wax scented the air. Evening service had ended. The church was nearly empty. Lena bought the smallest candle, approached the icon of the Virgin Mary, and stared at the dark, gentle face. She didn't know prayers. She simply asked for silence, for strength not to collapse. Praying for forgiveness, holy roller? A sharp voice snapped behind her, slicing through the sacred stillness. Lena turned. Tiffany stood there, the bride, with no wedding. She looked almost as broken as her brother. Messy hair, smeared makeup, her expensive coat hanging open over a wrinkled dress, the sour smell of old alcohol clinging to her. Tiffany, Lena murmured, stepping back. Not here, please. Where then? Tiffany barked, ignoring an old woman's attempts to hush her. You're everywhere. You took over my house, my car, my money. My fiancé dumped me because of you. My friends cut me off because of you. She advanced, eyes wild, and cornered Lena against the narthex wall near the courtyard exit. You think you won? She hissed, grabbing Lena's coat. I'll ruin you. I'll pour acid on your face. You won't dare go outside again. Sign the property waiver. Sign it, or I'll do it right here. Her long acrylic nails lifted, aimed for Lena's eyes. Take your hands off her. A male voice, calm, authoritative, made Tiffany freeze mid-strike. A tall young man stepped from the churchyard shadows, immaculate in a cashmere coat. Serge. The perfect fiancé. The heir. The golden boy. The centerpiece of Tamara Jackson's grand wedding scheme. Tiffany's hand dropped. A pathetic smile twisted her face. Serge, darling, she stammered, instantly changing her tone. You came. I knew you would. This trash ruined us, but we can still, Serge approached. He didn't even glance at Tiffany. His eyes were on Lena, surprised, respectful. You're Lena Davis, correct? He asked. Lena nodded, pinned against the cold wall. I saw the documents you sent to the shareholders of Davis Freight and Logistics, Serge said. The audit. Very professional work, especially the parts about the misuse of funds and falsified reports over the last 5 years. Tiffany's face drained of color. Serge, what are you talking about? She made all that up. It's fake. He finally looked at his former bride. The disgust in his eyes was so sharp it was as if he were staring at a cockroach. Fake? He repeated. My lawyers confirmed every detail. Your family is bankrupt, Tiffany, and that's not even the worst part. You're criminal scammers living on loans and deception. And that pillar accident a year ago? The dent wasn't from that. It was a child. I can explain. Tiffany reached for him, but he recoiled as if she carried a disease. Don't touch me, he said frostily. I only came because I saw your location. I wanted to say this in person so no rumors would start. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket, the engagement ring box, except now it was empty. Wait, no, he said with cold clarity. You pawned the ring yesterday. I was notified. Tiffany whimpered, covering her mouth. We're done, Serge declared, loud enough for the few people outside the gate to hear. I will not marry a fraud's daughter. My family will not be tied to bankrupts and criminals. You are beneath me, Tiffany. An empty shell wrapped in something pretty. He turned to Lena and nodded. My apologies that my former fiancée bothered you. If she ever approaches you again, call me. My security team will make the rules clear to her faster than the police. Then Serge walked toward the gates, where his tinted car waited. Tiffany remained frozen in the churchyard, her mouth opened and closed like a stranded fish. Her perfect life, her golden future gone. She sank to her knees on the cobblestones and wailed, not from sorrow, but from helpless rage. Watching her, Lena finally understood there was no pity left. Only one final step remained. Leaving Tiffany sobbing behind her, Lena walked out through the church gates. Her hands trembled less now. It seemed the worst had passed. Terrell was crushed by debt. Tiffany abandoned and disgraced. Their family's reputation destroyed. Lena inhaled the cool evening air. For the first time in a week, she felt she might actually sleep without fear. She headed toward her vandalized car to call for a tow truck. But before she could reach for her phone, the quiet street split open with a shriek of sirens. A police cruiser screeched around the corner, tire squealing. It abruptly cut her off, blocking her path onto the sidewalk. The doors burst open and 2 officers jumped out. Lena Davis. One barked, giving her no time to react. Yes, that's me. Lena instinctively stepped back. What's the matter? I'm the victim here. My car was vandalized. Hands on the hood? The officer shouted, roughly grabbing her elbow. You're under arrest for suspicion of felony fraud. Section 1590, subsection 4. What? Lena jerked, but the handcuffs clicked coldly around her wrists. What fraud? You're making a mistake. I'm the one being harassed. We'll sort it out at the precinct. Get in. She was roughly shoved into the back of the cruiser. The cabin reeked of gas and old dust. Lena tried to catch the driver's eye to explain herself, but they remained silent. Her phone was confiscated immediately. No contact with Victor. She was completely alone. 20 minutes later, she arrived at the precinct. Noise filled the hall. Dim lights cast long shadows. Drunks and exhausted detectives passed by. Lena wasn't taken to a holding cell. Instead, she was led straight to an office at the end of the hall. Behind the desk sat a police captain, his fleshy red face and watery eyes. Belonging to a man long accustomed to selling his conscience for cash, a thick file rested before him, and Lena could just make out her last name on its cover. Have a seat, Miss Davis. The captain nodded toward a chair bolted to the floor. Well, you ran far enough, didn't you? Thought you were clever, huh? I don't know what you mean, Lena said firmly, though inside she felt herself shrink into an icy knot. I demand a lawyer. I have a right to a phone call. The captain smirked, lighting a cigarette, blowing smoke into her face. A lawyer won't help you. This case is airtight. We have a complaint from the victim, Tamara Jackson, and rock-solid evidence. He opened the folder, tossing a document in front of her. Recognize this? Lena looked. It was the same 3-year-old deed of gift, transferring the house and company to her. This is an official document, she said, notarized. That's where you're wrong, the captain countered, producing a second sheet. Handwriting analysis was done today. The expert found Terrell Davis's signature forged and Tamara Jackson's signature forged, too. Lena froze. That's impossible. They brought these papers themselves. They signed them in front of me. You forged them. Lena, the captain said smoothly, leaning over the desk. You exploited your husband's trust, slipped him fake papers or signed for him while he slept, and bribed the notary to stamp them. Except that notary died a year ago. Convenient, right? No trails remain. Lena felt her head pounding. Tamara Jackson had gone to the bank, trying to rewrite the past. If the documents were proven forged, Lena wouldn't just lose everything she'd faced 10 years in jail. It's a lie, Lena whispered. There are records in the registry. We'll clean the registry. We'll check it. The captain smirked. And I have sworn testimony from your mother-in-law. She claims you threatened her, blackmailed the family. The captain rose and approached her, his cheap tobacco and sweat scent heavy in the air. Listen carefully, Davis. You're in deep. Tamara Jackson is influential and connected to the district attorney. Tonight, you'll be in county jail. The population there is diverse. The cell is cold. The inmates are mean. And you're an accountant. You won't survive. He placed a blank sheet of paper and a pen before her. But there's an option. Confess. Say the devil got into you. That you wanted a good life. That you forged your husband's signature out of jealousy. The charge gets softened. You'll get probation, return the property, and go live with your mother in the country. Lena stared at the blank sheet. It was a trap. Signing meant admitting guilt. She wanted to surrender, just to make the fear go away. Tamara had won money, police power. Lena only had numbers. Closing her eyes, she recalled Victor's words, emotions are for the weak, facts are a weapon. She raised her head, staring at the captain. Captain, are you aware that knowingly giving false expert testimony violates U.S. Code Title 18, Section 155? The captain frowned. Trying to be a smartass. I see the expert's last name, Gromovov. I know that name, Lena said, voice strengthening, recalling how she had fired her husband at a board meeting. I checked the records when preparing the annual report. He was stripped of his license 2 years ago for falsifying evidence. His signature has no legal weight. Your expert opinion is just paper trash. The captain's face flushed. How dare you speak to me like that? I'm speaking the language of law, Lena replied. I won't sign anything. By the Fifth Amendment, I refuse to testify against myself. Record that you're pressuring me with false documents. The captain slammed his fist on the desk. You desk jockey, you know the law, huh? Sign it while I'm being nice. He grabbed her shoulder, squeezing painfully. Lena cried out, but held her gaze. I will not sign. You will sign, he roared, raising his hand. Or you'll leave permanently disabled. Tamara Jackson paid well to make you disappear. At that moment, the office door burst open. The lock flew out. Victor Sterling stood there, coatless, sharp suit, terrifying eyes. Behind him, 2 uniformed officers lay sprawled on the floor, having attempted to stop him. Take your hands off her, Victor whispered, quiet but firm. The captain's knees shook. He released Lena, stepping back. Who are you? The captain shrieked. This is a secure facility. I'll shoot. Victor didn't even glance at his gun. He stepped aside for an elderly man in thick glasses, clutching a leather briefcase. The captain went pale. Sergei Ivanovich, he whispered. Reports of my death were exaggerated, Captain, the old man said. I retired on my farm until this gentleman came to me. My honest name was being smeared. Lena rubbed her shoulder. Who is he? Notary who handled a transaction 3 years ago, Victor said. Standing like a rock beside her, the old man opened his briefcase and a laptop. 3 years ago, he began, voice shaky. Tamara Jackson demanded a retroactive deal to hide assets from the IRS. I refused to break the law but processed it by the book. The captain scoffed. Just words, word against word. I record all transactions on video, the notary said, pressing play. The screen showed young, confused Lena, purse clutched. Tamara Jackson towering. Sign it, you fool, hurry. Tamara barked. Lena timidly asked, Terrell, is this legal? Terrell waved, just sign it. Mom said so. You're the formal owner. Victor calmly said, this proves the signatures are genuine, and the expert testimony is fake. He took the file. Captain, he said, you have two choices. I send this, and your interrogation to Internal Affairs, and the FBI you go to. Jail with Tamara Jackson, or you release Lena, close the case, and we countersue Tamara for false reporting and fraud. The captain slumped. Unlock her handcuffs, he muttered. Trembling, the officer complied. Lena rubbed her wrists. Let's go, Victor said, holding out his hand. Tomorrow, we finish this story. The scene shifts to the mansion. At 9 a.m., sunlight flooded Royal Heights. A convoy arrived, Victor's black SUV. Lena's new silver car. Vans of the U.S. Marshal Service and a confiscation truck. Neighbors watched, curious. Tamara Jackson stormed out in a silk robe, hair messy, face gray. What are you doing? This is private property, she shrieked. The chief marshal ignored her. You have 30 minutes to gather personal belongings. Furniture, electronics, artwork are seized. $15 million plus interest owed to Davis Freight and Logistics. Ownership transferred to Lena Davis. Tamara froze. Terrell and Tiffany stumbled out. Terrell fell to his knees, begging forgiveness. Lena stepped back, voice hard as granite. You talk about family, Terrell? You're not family? None of you are. The banquet is over. The waiter brought the bill. Victor placed a folder on her car hood. This house is rotten, Lena said. I will not live here. I sell it, and all assets to my company for $70 million. Tamara clutched her heart. Terrell and Tiffany were left with a $300 envelope for a month's rent and food. Lena got into her car, Victor in his SUV. The marshal sealed the house, ushering the Davises out. She drove away, free at last. For the first time in 36 years, her life belonged to her alone. The end.